Okay, good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming tonight. Tonight is the regular Board of Trustee meeting, Tuesday, June 5th at 5:30. You have a roll call, Mr.
Call the roll. Mr. Johnson. Here. Mr. Crandall.
Here.
Mr. Mahoney.
Here.
Here.
Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Did anybody have any questions on the approval of the minutes for May 15th?
I just have one comment. I think the minutes are pretty accurate. Mr. Burrell wrote us a memo. I think it might have been the same night, but we received it the next day. I'd like that part of the record, and then I think Chief Long, we asked for a report, you did, John. He had that to us in 2 or 3 days. I think if we attach those two things to the minutes, that would be very helpful.
I had also had abstention on the safety city that evening, and that wasn't in the minutes either. So if we could put that for the record.
I didn't notice that.
But besides that, I'm good with everything else. John, you okay?
There was the reference, Heisler was a transition street that I mentioned, and I don't know if that was the right word, but anyways.
I don't think it was, but I didn't think it was material. I don't know what that meant, transition.
Yeah.
Okay, hang on 1 second.
Other than that, nothing.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion approved.
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Genoway?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
As amended, or as corrected?
Thanks, Dave. Any additions?
No additions or deletions to the agenda.
Hearing of the public for agenda items only.
Dave has the list. Is there?
Do you want to go through? Well,
Here's agenda.
do you want to wait till we get to that?
Yes.
Okay. Zoning's at 6 o'clock, so let's get to Rob in the road department, please. Rob?
Anything for us, Rob?
No, I haven't.
All right.
Any questions for Rob?
How about you, Chief Ram?
Yes.
Fire? Good afternoon. Hi, Mike.
I only have one thing on the agenda. It's Resolution 18-073, authorization to increase the hourly rate for part-time firefighter EMTs. Looking at it to stay competitive in the area, we had to boost it up a little bit. It's not a huge increase, but hopefully that helps us. We've got 12 people right now. We'll be interviewing in the next 2 weeks, and I believe this will help us in our part-time, securing some part-time employees.
How many part-time?
Right now, we're at 4.
4?
Yeah, but remember, we've had 2, 3, 4 full-time come from the part-time, so.
Great.
Well, are we authorized still at 10, John?
Well, yeah, we're authorized at 10, yep.
Okay.
So I'm hoping out of the 12, we can, we need some staff, yes, sir.
I'll offer resolution 18-074, or no, 18-073, authorized to increase the hourly rate for part-time firefighter EMT paramedics.
Second.
Mr. Genoway?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chief Long? Anything tonight?
Any questions for Chief?
I have nothing else to questions on you.
Administrator?
Yes, I have one liquor request for a new liquor license at the Priest Wine Bar. It's at 6801 West Central Avenue. The police and fire department both have reviewed it and have no objections to the new permit. And if there's no objections, then don't act on it. Hearing none, then so be it. And then my next item is a continuation from the previous meeting on a discussion of the operation of use of off-road vehicles. Last meeting, I had a resolution. We did a couple, John brought a couple tweaks to it. Here's the new one.
for discussion.
Thanks, John.
The terminology and the main points are the same. So with that, bring John up here, John, and I'll just hold in case any questions. And then I'll turn the discussion over to you guys. And at this time also, was there somebody that signed in?
Yes, we do have those.
Do you have to have them discussed, or how are we going to do it?
About, JB, do you mind if we get, and let's just go in order as to how these are signed in. Rob Wright, please.
I'm Bob Wright, 7532 Hollow Creek, 43617. I wrote my remarks down. I wanted to make sure I had everything correct. And again, thank you for the opportunity to discuss this. On October 2nd, 2016, I recorded the following from my backyard that's well over 100 feet from 2520 Heisler Road. I won't play the whole thing, but just give a walk down memory lane. I think you get the point. In my opinion, or our opinion, this is not small off-road vehicles. And this was the last straw for the residents of King Hollow. We'd endured and tolerated this noise level for a number of months and weekends prior to that October 2nd recording. On October 18th, 2016, I attended the trustee meeting and introduced this recurring offense to you and asked for your assistance in enforcing an existing township noise ordinance. At that time, I recall you all expressed your concern for our issue. Since that first meeting, many Kings Hollow neighbors and I have attended many meetings to determine the progress of resolving the aforementioned request for enforcement and the amendment. Residents of Kings Hollow have made repeated calls to the township police asking for support to address the excessive noise and exhaust fumes that prevent us from enjoying our outside activities. The continued noise has negative health effects, and I can provide supporting documentation if you would like to read it, and I would be happy to make copies and provide them to you at another date. In addition, United States Code Title 42, the Public Health and Welfare, Chapter 85, Air Pollution Control, Subchapter 4, Noise Pollution, Section 7641, says noise abatement directly mentions noise abatement and control, including Section C, the psychological and physiological effects on humans. Noise pollution is defined as unwanted or disturbing sound. Sound becomes unwanted when it interferes with normal activities such as sleeping, conversation, or disrupts or diminishes one's quality of life. While for some, the persistent escalating sources of sound can be often considered an annoyance. This annoyance can have major consequences primarily to one's health, or one's overall health. Our intent is to protect all the residents of Sylvania Township from this type of activity, including those properties adjacent to where you live in your neighborhoods. To that extent, I want to read excerpts from a Blade article, August 10th, 2010, titled Sylvania Township Trustees Will Punctuate Noise Resolution. August 11th, my mistake, 2010. Sylvania Township officials are considering adding specifics to the township's noise resolution with the intent to make it more enforceable. But during a township trustees meeting last week, they conceded they may have a hard time using even a detailed noise law to crack down on motorcyclists and hot rod drivers who aggravate residents like Julie Thompson by racing up and down township streets at night. It's going on every night until 3:30 a.m. Ms. Thompson said of racing an engine revving on Central and Sylvania Avenues, which she can hear from her home on Silverwood Drive. I can hear them a mile away, revving their engines at stoplights. and it's like a free-for-all as far as speed goes. Trustee John General agreed, saying he hears the noise from his home on Sylvania and suggested that stepped-up traffic stops can be a deterrent. From 11 p.m. to 6 a.m., it's extremely upsetting. Township Police Robert Metzger and Trustee Chairman Carol Contrada cautioned, however, that even if the township established a measurable noise standard to enforce, proving violations will be difficult. Current township law forbids, quote, any loud, unnecessary, or unusual noise or noises of such character, intensity, or duration that annoy, disturb, endanger the peace, health, comfort, safety, or repose of reasonable persons of ordinary sensibilities. At such volume is plainly audible in a distance of 150 feet or more from the source of the noise or sound. Now, we're 8 years past that article on that issue, and please confirm that since that article, there have been no changes to the existing ordinance that you're aware of. Fair statement? Okay. The approval of the community off-road noise ordinance in the state of Ohio is not new. I have documentation from Springfield Township in southern Ohio, Amherst Township, the city of Willoughby Hills, Plain Township in Stark County, and Liberty Township in Butler County addressing noise levels that are parallel to the issues we've been discussing over the past 18 months. Ohio Code 4503.221, Local Regulation of Passenger Car and Motorcycle Noise, Section E, a Board of County Commissioners of any county may regulate noise from passenger cars, motorcycles, or other devices using internal combustion engines in the unincorporated area of the county, and a Board of Township Trustees may regulate such noise in the unincorporated area of the township in one of the following ways. Number 4, by prohibiting racing the mode of any vehicle described in Division E1 of this section in such a manner that the exhaust system emits a loud, cracking, chattering noise unusual to its normal operation. Sylvania Township has been and continues to be in transition from rural to residential occupancy. Your approval of this amendment will protect current and future residents from this form of annoyance, as well as maintaining property values. In the audience are known Kings Hollow residents supporting the ordinance, or supporting documentation, signed documentation from other Kings Hollow residents approving. Our residential neighborhood, as well as other township neighborhoods, have a right to enjoy friends and family outdoors. At no time should any outdoor activities infringe or annoy another property or neighborhood. It's called respect. Gentlemen, in closing, I want to confirm our noise amendment request is to include all of Sylvania Township residents, including trustees, from experiencing the same offensive environment we have experienced. To that end, we strongly request your approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
Yep.
Greg Commissar. Hi, Greg.
How's it going?
Good.
Greg Commissar, 2520 Heisler Road. Basically the other side of this whole argument that I own the property there. This is not an everyday occurrence. This is every now and then that I spoke with Chief Long earlier today. How many complaints have we had over the course of how long here?
The report I gave, that report that I sent that you put on the record, I think showed the last one was August of last year, I believe. It was from January 2017 through the present. Well, a couple weeks ago when I did it was 4 total.
Hey, Chief Long, 4 out of how many noise complaints did we get in the township?
Township-wide was 224.
224, so the 224, there's 4. Okay. So there's more than just the 4 in the township for noise?
Yes.
Okay, all right, very good. Keep going.
And we're sitting here, and I fully expect that if I bring up this number, that we're going to have an issue where if there's any sound of any kind, there's going to be a call, which we're getting to a point where this is absolutely nothing short of harassment. That I have never been issued a sound ordinance violation. This has been going on for years, that this is being brought up as being from 2016 on, My parents purchased this house in 1995. I bought this house off of the parents. I have toys in the barn that showed up in 1995 when my parents bought the place. That I have my younger sister here today that happens to be in town on other matters, that growing up, this was something that we did on a regular basis. That there's absolutely nothing new here. That my son, which is sitting next to my sister, is 12 years old. In an effort to keep him active and that kind of thing, and keep other children active, I have no problems with having some spots in the yard where I do not have grass, letting them go out and play with the dirt bikes, keep them active. That I have the pond in the backyard, I have the small track in the backyard that is geared toward the pit bikes. It is in no way geared toward the full-blown race bikes, the motocross bikes. The only time I have had the full-blown race bikes out there in the last 10, maybe 15 years is the sound ordinance exemption that was suggested by Mr. Wright himself, that we try to be mindful of the neighbors, that if Chris and Pat next door are having a large family function or something like that, they will contact me and we'll try to keep things down. By no means am I going to sit here and have this be, oh, you can't ever do anything. But if there's a legitimate reason that there's a family function or there's a community party or something like that, then I have absolutely no problems working with these people. But I have no intention on having to write written permission to use my own yard as I see fit. That on-road, off-road, whatever kind of vehicle you want to be pertaining to, that where do you draw the line between it being an off-road vehicle and an on-road vehicle, and that I would personally like to see a copy of this proposal. That is this available to the public anywhere for people to review and see? And okay, this is the first I'm seeing this at all. That the way the law is currently written, it pertains to excessive noise, and that is to be interpreted by each individual. That each individual officer coming out has to determine whether it is excessive or not. That I do not allow vehicles to run property, the backyard, the track, whatever you want to call it, without having a complete exhaust on them. That every bike does have a muffler, every bike does have a complete exhaust coming from the head on the motor, through a header, through whatever the factory determined it needed, and that nothing is modified to be making things excessive as far as noise, that we are running actual mufflers. So I don't know where we want to go with this, that I'm to a point where this is nothing short of harassment.
Okay.
That I'm not breaking the law, so we have an individual here or a group of individuals here that want to change the law to suit them.
This is a bad example, but it may make sense. What's your favorite rock group? What kind of music do you like to listen to?
Most anything, honestly.
Okay, so I love AC/DC. Okay, so if I sat in my backyard and played AC/DC every night, if I keep it at a good volume, we're not telling you can't do this. What we're telling you is just respectful of neighbors. If I sat in my backyard and turned up AC/DC all night long, my neighbors are going to be upset with me because I'm being rude to my neighbors. And what we're telling you is what we're saying is you cannot ride. What we're saying is you can't take advantage of a bunch of loud equipment, and taking advantage of being respectful of your neighbors is all this resolution discusses. It's not saying you can't do this. What we're saying is you're going to need to be respectful of the neighborhood. And just like I try to be respectful of my neighborhood, even though I love AC/DC. I'm not gonna keep it, I wanna turn it loud, I'm gonna keep it in my house and play inside. I don't know if that's a good example of how I'm looking at this, is why I think we need to have this resolution in place. Because I think it's all about being respectful. And quite honestly, this is going on all over. My Clover Township's they've got the similar situation we're talking about tonight, the trustees are dealing with now. And Springfield Township, I didn't check with them, but I did check with Montclair. I've talked to a lot of other folks that do have some situations like this. This has been going on since 2010. These guys have been coming here for almost a year and a half. So when they drive here, they probably think to themselves, wow, does this take this long for government to make a decision? I mean, I'm at a point where I want to make a decision on this thing and move on, and I appreciate your comments. And you've been very professional and very nice about it, and I can't thank you enough for your time with it. We're not saying you can't do it, we're just saying be respectful of your neighbors. Rob, am I misreading what you're trying to get at with this whole process? Okay. So I appreciate your time tonight, thank you.
I have no problems trying to work with the neighbors, but no regard to my looking to ask for permission to use my own property.
Yeah, I understand. Well, thank you for coming, and your family, welcome back to Northwest Ohio. Steve Collier.
To be fair, I'm not fully prepared because I didn't know we were going to have to name our favorite rock group.
That was maybe a bad example, I don't know, I like AC/DC, so, if you could, but just give me your address for the record.
Yeah, Steve Collier, 2445 Lost Creek Drive, Toledo, Ohio, 43617. And I was here last year, and let me just start by saying, I grew up in a very small town, a town of 1,800 people, and if they had ordinances, I don't know about it, but I know that my parents would have made sure that I was respectful to our neighbors. That just was like the basis for things. And in terms of, as I became a lawyer, I learned that the term reasonableness was one that was used all the time. That you need to use reasonable care when you operate your motor vehicle. A doctor may need to use reasonable care when performing surgery. And to me as a lawyer, that is something that is understood. So could somebody have a reasonable amount of noise that would seem to be okay? My understanding was the previous ordinance, or the current ordinance, wasn't being enforced because at the time the police had some difficulty determining, well, what's reasonable and what's not reasonable. That's my understanding why this came about, to put something more objective in terms of a decibel level or something of that nature. When I was here last year, I also referenced, I didn't bring it with me again, an Ohio Supreme Court case that basically says it's okay to do these type of things. So the fact that you own a piece of property doesn't give you a complete right to do whatever you want on that property. We all know there's certain limitations, so this one focuses on noise. And the current proposal, as I understand it, is an attempt to satisfy in part law enforcement's concern that I want to do something to make it easier for our officers. I've lived, I think we built our house there 22 years ago, and so I've been there a long period of time. And about 10 years or so ago was when I bought the property right behind our house, which abuts Greg's place. I have a garden over there. I've seen Greg over there many, many times over the years. And we were here last time in part because of the one he said he had an exemption for, and that was the Mother's Day thing, not this past year, of a year ago. And that day, even Greg might admit that was too loud that day, I don't know. So I think what we're trying to do is not just have something for our neighborhood, but something township-wide that would be reasonable and allow law enforcement to do what it needs to do in a reasonable manner, and not put the chief in a difficult position of, well, I got this call again, what am I going to do? I'm going to send a deputy out. Are they going to send, here or there? And are they supposed to hear it? Are they upset or not upset? And so I think that was the intent behind this. So I'm open to answer any questions I can, but that's my perspective on it. And it'll probably be Bob Dylan.
Thanks, Steve. So do we need to discuss this as the trustees? Any questions, or are we gonna put we have a resolution for this?
Oh, do you need a number?
I do.
79.
18-079, okay.
And it was suggested to me that we would, since this is a home rule resolution, unless we disperse with the second reading, we would need a second reading, and I think one of the trustees would like to see that. So what we can do tonight is pass the resolution and then have a second reading in our next meeting, and then if that is passed, then it becomes in effect.
And the second reading would be for what? Because I mean, we've been dealing with this for a year and a half. I don't.
It would be the same resolution, second reading, this would give people the time to look at it, because right now, as you said, we put up on our website.
Fair enough.
Give time to look at to the next meeting, and then the next meeting, people can also talk. You have to, and John Brown, please quicker, you would have to pass it at the second meeting also for it to take effect, so you really pass it twice.
I have a comment. I think I did not understand dispensing of the second reading. It seems to me this is a big enough issue in the community that we should do two readings before we take action.
Well, no, you take action on both.
Yes, I understand. I mean, before it's filed.
Right.
Thank you. I was surprised we had 224 complaints in a year and a half. I think this same issue with Kings Hollow and Heisler came up when I was chair, which actually goes back to 2016. And I had at least one meeting, but we were unable to resolve the issue. We also had a complaint the year I was chair from Centennial Terrace. So I don't think this is isolated just to this neighborhood. And when you have Sylvania Township, which is growing all the time, these aren't the only growth issues we have with development. And I think we probably should, in my opinion, take action. It's been over a year and a half, and I think we have a responsibility to at least try and resolve the issue. But to me, it's neighbors getting along and respecting each other on both sides of this issue. So with that, I would move resolution 18-79 for the first reading.
You have a second?
Second, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'll call the roll. Mr. Denneline?
No.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
And we will put this up on our website from now on. The next meeting is June 19th, is when we'll have the second reading, and then if it passes at that point, it'll take effect.
Okay, thank you.
Doesn't it take 30 days after that, or more?
Well, yeah, there's a legal requirement, it has to be published in the paper now.
All right, thank you.
All right. With that being said, we'd love for you guys to stick around. This is a good chance to get out of here, because we got to go through zoning. You're more than welcome to stay. Thank you for coming. Thanks for your efforts the last year, coming to these meetings. Good seeing you.
We're right on time for the 6 o'clock zoning, so. With that, I'll turn it over to Daryl.
Hi, Darrell.
Good evening.
Good evening.
For the record, I've got to go with Led Zeppelin.
What'd you say? I didn't hear you.
Led Zeppelin.
Okay. We'll keep it going.
Yeah, we have a theme here.
It's all good.
I have a zone change request for this evening from M2 Restricted Industrial to C2 PUD, Commercial Plan Unit Development, for the property at 0 Sylvania Avenue, parcel number 7829080. The board has received the staff report, so I will not go over that unless you wish that I do so.
What is the new land use plan calling for here?
It is called,
That's the reason that was given for the denial at both the Plan Commission and our zoning department?
it's calling for business parks / light industrial uses, professional offices, research facilities, and related uses, and individual buildings or office park, campus settings. May also include larger commercial uses along major highways or thoroughfares, distribution centers, warehouses, light and restricted industrial uses, and supportive facilities such as hotels.
Would assisted living fall into that category?
No, that would not.
But they could get a variance for that, right?
For an assisted living?
Yeah.
No, it would be a conditional use if it's the A or the R zone properties.
Isn't this a PUD request?
The request is for C2 PUD, yes.
Yeah, well, they couldn't change the layout.
No, I mean, but if someone else came in with an assisted living facility, I mean, they could
Oh, I
stick it
see.
here, and that's
I'm
what...
sorry, but not a PUD request. They would have to be a new request.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
yes.
I got it.
And the Lucas County Plan Commission and the Zoning Commission each unanimously recommended denial of the zone change request at their respective meetings, and zoning staff is also recommending denial. And the applicant is here if you have any questions.
So I'll offer a public hearing at 6:03 regarding a zone change from M2 to C2 PUD. Is there anybody in attendance that'd like to speak on behalf of the project? Okay, is there anybody, well, I guess that covers both sides of it. So I'll close the public hearing at 6:03 and 30 seconds. And offer resolution 18074 to approve a zone change from M2 to C2 PUD.
Second?
Second.
Mr. Genowine, second?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'll call the roll. Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
I'm voting no. As I understand, we're approving, it was denied, so I'm voting no. That'd be
That'd be the right
denied.
vote, I mean, not the right
The
vote.
way I read the resolution, it's to approve the change to C2 PUD.
Yeah.
Right,
My-
it's always worded in the positive.
So, I get it, my vote is no.
Mr. Mahoney?
No. But please stay in the township, we'd love for you to find another location. All right, with that being said, we're gonna go, what else we got here? Fiscal officer, you got anything for us, Dave?
I have nothing.
All right. Any open discussion? One of the open discussion things I had was July 3rd is our meeting for July 4th, the 4th, that weekend. July 3rd. Do you guys want to make that meeting the 3rd, because it's the night before July 4th, or do you want to schedule it for the 10th? You guys around at all? Or we can wait till the 3rd week. I mean, depending on, first of the month is always a lighter agenda anyway, since we don't have anything on the zoning.
I'm good on the 10th, if we want to push it. I just think that week of the 4th is going to be clustered, and
Well, that means we'd be meeting on the 17th the following week. Do you want to just do the 17th?
why don't we wait and see?
Because we got
if
Charlie
we've
coming too,
things-
so.
And they're coming on the 17th?
No, but they were gonna want that in July.
Yeah.
So
We
what?
can decide, we have the meeting the 19th, we can decide it.
Okay, great. Just as a heads up, yeah, well,
Yeah.
I don't know if it works for you, Dave, or not.
I'm not gonna be in town on the 3rd, but any of the other days are.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
So let's
sometimes,
see out what's needed.
that's what we really done,
Okay.
we don't need to do what we don't.
Great.
On the 10th.
Okay, so I'll move to, we go in executive session at 6:05 to discuss fiscal department and zoning department, and, excuse me, and zoning?
Yeah,
Zoning, yeah.
Okay, Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes. All right, we ready to rock and roll here?
Is John coming?
Yeah, yes. Does he get a bathroom break? I don't know.
Yes.
Costco.
Oh.
Less expensive here.
Sorry, Rob, I forgot, and in there, I'm like, oh, he probably left.
No, I kept him here.
Okay.
He tried to leave, I said, no way.
Okay, right, Sam? Okay, I'd like to make a motion to come out of executive session at 6:54.
Second.
And the roll?
Oh, yes, Mr. Genowine.
Yep.
Mr. Crandall.
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney.
Yes. And we're not taking action this evening, and I'll motion to adjourn at 6:54.
Second?
Mr. Genowine.
Yes.
Mr. Crandall.
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney.
Yes. Thank you. All right.
Thanks.
Yeah, might as well.